Welcome to Mindfucks with Mahara, where we flip your perspective, challenge your thinking, and leave you feeling surprisingly amazing about it all. I'm your host, Mahara, and this podcast is for the rebels ready to rage against their comfort zone, for those willing to flip their finger at mediocrity and sit in the fire of discomfort, knowing that's where the magic happens. Each episode, I'll share insights that might just blow your mind in the best possible way. So if you are ready to have your world rocked and your thoughts rewired, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back, truth seekers, to another episode of Mindfucks with Mahara. I'm your host, Mahara Wayman, and today we're going to talk about something that's probably keeping you stuck right now. What do you think that is? Your addiction to permission. You know what I'm talking about? It's that constant need to make sure it's okay before you make a move, before you take up space, or before you claim what's yours. Okay, here's today's truth bomb, people. While you're waiting for permission to live your life, your dreams are collecting dust and your power is getting rusty. It is time to blow this whole permission paradigm to pieces. Now, before we dive deep into this mindfuck, let me share something personal with you. I want to tell you about my own permission addiction. You see, I was that person who needed a signed permission slip from the universe before I'd even consider making a bold move. Want to raise my prices? I better check with everyone first. Want to launch a new program? I better make sure the timing is right. Want to speak my truth? God, I better get approval from everyone in my head. Can you imagine how exhausting that was? Yeah. Well, my breaking point came when I was sitting in yet another mastermind, asking for permission to do something with my business that I already knew I needed to do. And my mentor, who was leading the masterclass, looked at me and she said something along the lines of, tell me more about that Mahara that needs permission to be herself. And I'm like, oh my God, talk about a mic drop moment. I realized that I had been treating my life like a grade school field trip. Do you remember where you needed permission to do anything? Yeah. I was collecting permission slips like my kids used to collect their Pokemon cards. And meanwhile, while all of that's going on, my power was slipping through my fingers and my badassery, it was kind of also shrinking. But you know what? That really was the wake-up call that changed everything for me. It's why today I'm doing this podcast and why we're going to break down this addiction that so many of us have to permission and really understand what's happening when we do that. So let's dive into what I call the permission revolution. First, we need to talk about the trap that it actually is. And this is the cycle that keeps you stuck. And I bet it's going to sound familiar. So first, you doubt your authority. Who am I to make that decision? I don't know enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough experience. So we doubt ourselves. And that leads to constantly seeking approval externally from that person or this person. It can also lead to us just waiting in procrastination for the quote right time, right? We also look for signs and validation. This was my big thing. I was constantly thinking, I'll know it when I see it, right? I'll wait. I asked the universe for signs. Let me know. Am I ready for this? But it was just a procrastination technique. I just was waiting for someone to tell me it was okay. But what actually happened was I just delayed taking action. And sometimes I didn't take action at all, right? Does that sound like someone you might know? But here's where it gets real. Let's look at the cost of all this permission seeking. Every time you wait for permission, your dreams get delayed. Your power diminishes. Your confidence erodes and your authority weakens. And this is the one that really got me. Your soul, it feels neglected and it kind of contracts. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. And these paper cuts are all the permission slips that you've never needed in the first place. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, Mahara, that sounds great and all, but what's the alternative? Well, I'm glad you asked. This is where we get to make some changes. Picture this: making decisions from authority. I know my business. I know what I like. I know what I want. Taking action from conviction. I know what I want. I know what's right for my business. I know what's right for my family, for example. Speaking your truth without apologizing for it. Oh, hands up. This is a big one. Creating without asking for permission. Sharing your brilliance with the world without asking for permission. And living from a place of sovereignty. Feels different, doesn't it? Oh my God, it feels amazing. I freaking love where I am today now that I understand why I was so obviously seeking permission from other people. But I do think we need to get practical, because theory without action, it's just mental masturbation. Oh my God, I actually said that. Anyway, doesn't matter. I've developed something that I call the claiming protocol. And it starts with, you guessed it, a daily check-in. But this is a daily authority check-in. So every morning, ask yourself, where in my life am I waiting for permission? What decisions am I delaying because of it? What do I need to claim? Here's another really good one. Where can I take authority today? Remember, this is your life, right? Your life. So after that, we move into a phase where we kind of detox ourselves from this behavior. Think of it as rehab for your permission addiction. So you want to start with small things. Practice decisive action. You make the decision on small things, right? Get used to it. And after every decision that you've made, document it. That's right. Write down, I am the boss of me. I did this today. And a little bit of tongue in cheek, but yeah, write it down. And then celebrate your autonomous choices, right? All of that builds your self-trust muscle. And that's what badassery is all about, right? It's kind of like going to the gym for your power. Every rep counts. Now, the final piece in this process is where you identify what triggers you to seek permission. So first you identify what your triggers are. For me, it's anything to do with money. I'm going to give you an example in a minute, but identify your triggers, create new response patterns. So instead of automatically being triggered and going, okay, I'm going to ask for permission from so-and-so, you can say, okay, I'm being triggered. Take a deep breath. What do you really want, Mahara? And then ask for permission from yourself. Then you want to practice self-authorization, which is, in fact, talking to yourself. What do you want to authorize in your world? What makes sense to you? Why did you ask this of yourself in the first place? And then trust your judgment. Something I think it's easy to forget, but you have an innate wisdom. And if you want something, there's a reason why you want it. If you have to go through a bit of a checks and balances, why do I want it? What's going on here? What am I feeling? That's okay too. I'm all about being curious, but trust your judgment. Because when you trust your judgment, you can own your choice. Now, I want to be clear. Just because you own your choice doesn't mean it's going to work out the way you want. I get that. That's a different story. But there is such power in owning your choices. It honestly makes everything that much easier. Believe me when I tell you this. There have been lots of times I've owned my choices and I didn't get the result I want. But I still was so proud of myself for owning my choice, for owning my path. Honest to God, as an entrepreneur, I go through this all the time. And if I can do it, you can too. Okay. Just to put this into perspective here, waiting for permission, it's kind of like asking your neighbor if you can change your living room around. Now, let's be real, unless they're sitting on your couch, their opinion is about as useful as a chocolate teapot. So let's get real. If we waited for everyone's permission to live our dreams, we would still be putting up our hands saying, can I go to the bathroom now? Like we did in grade school. And we're so done with that. So before we wrap up, I do want to share some uncomfortable truths about claiming your power. Number one, not everyone's going to be happy you've done it, right? People don't usually talk about this, but I'm willing to because, Mindfucks with Mahara. Some people aren't going to like your authority. Not everyone's going to support your decisions, but you'll have to trust yourself, right? Uncertainty is part of the game. And yes, this is a big one. Your old identity may really resist. I'm not saying this is the easiest thing to do, but you know what? It's how you know it's working. Every time you do it, it gets easier. Okay. Folks, it's time to stop asking permission and start claiming your power and going after what you want. If you are ready to step into your authority, really, really ready, I'm not pussyfooting around here. If you're ready to do this, then head over to my website, www.mindfulnesswithmahara.com, and book a free alchemy activation session. Completely free. We can chat about what's been holding you back, if it is, in fact, your addiction to seeking permission. And you'll leave with some tips on how to navigate that a little bit better in your life. Remember, the permission you're seeking has already been granted. It's called your life. My name is Mahara. I want to make sure you understand that you don't need a permission slip to be a badass. You just need to be yourself. Have a great day.